Is Kenpachi mid? Who is number 1? And how tall is Gin Ichimaru? All will be answered soon. I am Sentiment, and after a pretty long Bleach break, we have ranked the top 6 quote-unquote captains within the Bleach anime. For those who haven't seen the previous Espada video, this isn't a power scaling or strength video. There are a lot of those. I'll just be talking about the best, coolest, most interesting within the Gotai 13 in my personal opinion. I won't go too much into Thousand Year Blood War arc content, but there definitely are some pretty big spoilers ahead. So, let's get into it. Number 6, we have Kisuke Urahara. It's honestly a bit of a caveman brain move for me to put him here. Urahara has everything one would really need. Sauce, character development, the secret weapon thing he's got going on, strength. Unohana is a character that I'd like to get into more as time goes on. He's a very interesting take on intellect and contrasts how intellect and power affect someone's urge to change things. Aizen, when he is sealed, directly compliments Unohana's intelligence, of course, and is infuriated at his complacency with the way of the world, which is something that I would imagine is in stark contrast to someone as intelligent and powerful as him. Despite Unohana's intelligence, he maintains his traditionalist mindset, which is incredibly interesting. I know he has a pretty large fan base, but if you want me to be 100% with you, he's only this low because I personally, as of the making of this video, think there's more entertaining characters to watch, which, to be fair, I'd argue is kinda his thing. He's a behind-the-scenes fixer kind of guy. While everyone is out blowing things up, he's behind the scenes making sure things go according to plan. It's admirable, and a lot of people are into that, but I choose to give into my I want to see things blow up mindset for now. So yeah. If it makes you guys feel any better, he wasn't initially on the list, but after, thinking, I decided to slide him in. Next up at number 5, we had the hot daddy himself, Yamamoto. I honestly hated this character when I first saw him, but with the slow revelation of his powers, he's become honestly the coolest character to me in terms of abilities. Now, this may be a little bit headcanon of me to say, but I get the sense that his fire-based abilities are indicative of deep-seated rage, and his self-description of a monster kind of fuels that perspective. I wish we had gotten to see where this side of his character comes from. We know he's lost many companions throughout the years, but we don't really get a clear explanation as to why in his younger years he was a self-proclaimed monster, and why in his older years he decided to channel that dark side of himself into a force for good, and that was definitely an unintentional but intentional Star Wars reference. Anyway, you have to imagine that if he truly did see himself as a monster, it would have taken a decent amount of willpower to tame that over the years, and not use as much force in early Bleach. An example of this taming would be when Ichigo initially saved Rukia. Knowing how much of a powerhouse Yamamoto was, he easily could have stopped that incident from ever happening, possibly long before Ichigo showed up, and definitely when he did. Despite this breach of the laws of the Soul Society, he kinda just sat there when Rukia was saved, only really becoming animated when Ukitake and Shunsui also rebelled. Essentially, if we take his past descriptions literally, as well as factor in that he ran what Yuha called a band of murderers and killers, which also included Unohana, the most evil criminal out of all of them, plus the fact that one of Yamamoto's abilities is to resurrect the dead people he's killed, which is not a small amount, then you have to applaud him for severely holding back when Ichigo interfered in Rukia's execution. And when he was disrespected and irritated a variety of times in Bleach, he showed little to no force. I commend his dedication to the laws of the Soul Society. Still kind of a douche, though. Now, coming in at number 4, we have the spiky-haired anime prodigy who keeps one eye covered because he'd be too strong with both of them, Kakashi Hata. I'm just kidding. Number 4, we have Kenpachi. I know a lot of people like Kenpachi, and I enjoy him. He's just not my favorite, but before anyone freaks out, I have a decent amount to say, both good and bad, and his placement is not slander to his character. Perhaps I just don't understand him as much, but let's start with the positives. He is the great smoke demon of Bleach and has some of the most entertaining fight sequences and scenes in the entire franchise. It's cool how he unnerves Tosen and Ichigo during their fights, as they see him smiling through the battle and enjoying the pain that they're inflicting. He is that Shinigami. Very cool to watch, very entertaining. The only criticism I can make about him as a character is that his relationships to other characters is questionable, to say the least. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, and if I am, let me know down below, but it seems like the large majority of Kenpachi's relationships seem to be focused on their ability to satisfy his need for battle, making his relationships seem incredibly superficial and self-fulfilling. It's kind of disturbing to think about how cold Kenpachi can actually be, and aside from Yachiru, who's literally a manifestation of his Zanpakuto, I don't really know if I could say he's capable of having meaningful and emotional relationships, including Unohana, who I will talk about now. It's a very cool dynamic, definitely, by the way, regardless of the criticism. You know, they're two animals joined in a dance of passion that no one else can really understand. It's poetic, definitely, in a way, and it's pretty sad when Unohana dies. However, something that detracts from this emotional significance is that Kenpachi doesn't seem to be as sad that Unohana is dying as much as he doesn't want her to stop fighting him. It's like, and this is a weird comparison, it's like a sugar baby being sad that their sugar daddy no longer will supply them with gifts. It feels incredibly superficial and heartless on Kenpachi's part. And while he does have sentimental value for her, it seems to be because she was the first to give him a good fight. You could argue Unohana was in the same boat, and I wouldn't give too much pushback, but at least Unohana unintentionally leading to Kenpachi suppressing himself led her to feel personal guilt, which seemed to be unrelated to her ability to fight him. Now, before I end this, I'm going to counter briefly. I will say Kenpachi was capable of feeling guilt for his Zanpakuto. Earlier when he, felt guilt for not knowing its name and not trying to speak to it. He also did feel a sense of protection of Yachiru, or for Yachiru, who, to be fair, is a Zanpakuto spirit, so it's possible he already had an unconscious connection to her. But disregarding that, he did care for her. Plus, in his fight with Tosen, he did think back on other interactions he had with his squad mates for advice in fighting Tosen. So it's possible he still sees them as comrades, despite the fact that they aren't a match for him in terms of a fight. And he did also describe the feeling of not having a name as painful. So, to be fair to Kenpachi, he does have emotional depth beyond his love of fighting. I just wish it was something that was better defined. Honestly, the worst thing about Kenpachi is his diehard stans. So if you guys who are seeing this are diehard Kenpachi stans and are seething that I dare say anything bad about the great Kenpachi, Kenpachi is indeed mid. If you guys can take a joke and are still here with me, let's continue. Next up, we have Retsu Unohana. Similar to Kenpachi, she has a killer instinct, but the reason she's above him, aside from the fact that she feels more human to me, is because she exemplifies the proverb, live by the sword, die by the sword. It's really cool to see her arc play out, and seeing the reveal that she was the first Kenpachi is very menacing. I love the soulless expression she adopts during this revelation, and the bloodthirsty look she shares with Kenpachi before their battle is amazing, and it shows that at that point she's consumed with a lust for battle. I also love the line about how the scar on her chest aches when Kenpachi was speaking. It's such an off-putting, strange line, and I want to say it was aching in anticipation, which if that's the case is super cool, but she also requested that he stop talking because of the aching, so that could imply that she did enjoy it or it wasn't in anticipation. It's strange, but nonetheless, it's a cool moment. Another thing, the wiki describes her as like the most diabolical criminal to ever exist within the Soul Society. Diabolical? I really don't want to know what earned her that title. I mean, how often in society are things described as diabolical? Jeez, man. Anyway, despite her murderous nature, she had time to repent with her healing, and while her inherent bloodlust was always with her, I really don't think her persona was faked. I mean, I believe that in time she was able to feel care for others, especially for her lieutenant. And I mean, I care for her lieutenant too, but anyway, she just genuinely became a genuine warm character. And it didn't really feel like her initial appearance was a facade or anything like that, which is what I initially thought. Like in the earlier drafts for this video, I was really harsh on her. But now I'm starting to accept that with time, she just changed. Coming in at number 2, we have Shunsui. I enjoyed this character. He is so chill and relaxed, and above all, is a combination of tropes that I don't like to create a character that's number 2 on the list. Starting off, his design. I'm not a huge pink guy. I think that pink in a character design is very non-threatening, and it reduces my ability to take some characters seriously. However, despite this, Shunsui is able to pull it off and still seems serious in his own way. The fact that he also carries 2 Zanpakuto on one side is pretty cool, and I've always been a sucker for wide-brimmed hats. His Bankai is also something I typically wouldn't like. It's a theater-like vague Bankai with multiple stages that tells a story and shares damage with the user while drowning them, making them sick, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's really unorthodox, and it has a lot going on, but it's nice, and it fits his performative, artistic appearance. Another thing I wouldn't really like or be into is like fighting dirty and using trickery. His Shikai is like focused entirely on children's games, but Shunsui fights dirty with such a degree of finesse and charisma that I find appealing. He threw his hat in Stark's face mid-conversation and tried to kill him. It's crazy. One of the best things about this trait is that he's not weak. In terms of raw power and speed, he's not a slouch, and it's possible he does this as an extension of his laziness, which is a pretty cool thought, but I think it's more about a sense of duty and willingness to do whatever he needs to win for the sake of the Soul Society. He stated once that once you choose to engage in battle, you're just as bad as the opponent, so it's possible that fighting dirty is just a manifestation of the opinion that everyone participating in battle is evil anyway. Overall, he's very cool, and his position as the head captain is very well deserved. Alright, before we get into our number 1 spot, let's quickly go down some honorable mentions since this video is getting kind of long as it is. Number 1, we have Gin Ichimaru. I hated this guy initially, but despite my best attempts to stay cold toward this character, I fell for the switcheroo they pulled. And seeing Rankiku cry over his body was definitely pretty sad. I've become more appreciative of him, and I think his status as a prodigy is pretty interesting. Fun fact, Gin is indeed 6'1", which absolutely astounded me when I was scrolling through the wiki. I mean, he looks like at least in early Bleach, he looks like a small little devious gremlin, so I didn't expect to see 6'1". Threw me off completely. Next, we have Tosen. He had the most potential, I think, out of like almost all the captains to be one of the coolest. And I really loved his portrayal, but shortly after his reappearance in the Fake Karakura Town arc, I quickly was disappointed by his character. I understand what they were trying to do, but at the same time, I just wish that he had kept his kind of reserved philosophical personality and didn't become, overinflated with ego and stuff like that. I don't know. I just didn't like the direction they took him. But he did have a lot of potential. Next, we have Shinji. He was the best captain that was formally advisored, and he was one of the few that I can actually take seriously. But yeah, I like his design and laid-back show personality. Alright, finally, coming in at number 1, we have, drumroll please, Byakuya Kuchiki. My favorite captain in Bleach right now has to be Byakuya. He's cold on the outside, well-spoken, yet cares for those closest to him, and always has an aura of class. Despite his status as a noble, he arguably has one of the most versatile kits in the anime, and isn't the noble stereotype who's complacent and defenseless. While he's not the strongest on this list, in all fairness, it's because he's being compared to some of the heaviest hitters of the 1,000-year Bloodwar arc, and despite this, he's still able to hold his own in the arc, taking down multiple Stern Ritter at once. Byakuya's stern demeanor also gives him the opportunity for some entertaining comedic relief moments.
Yes, hello. This is Byakuya.
On top of that, his character design is very simple and once again demonstrates his class. His composure in the face of a variety of setbacks is admirable as well. I've also been a big fan of flashed up moments in Bleach, and seeing as Byakuya specializes in this area, it makes his fights pretty satisfying. Honestly, despite my love of this character, I would have been fine if he had died against Asnot in the 1,000-year Bloodwar arc, as it would have been a great wrap-up to his arc. We got to see Byakuya develop as a character, and I really enjoy the loopholes he began to find in the rules of the Soul Society as the series progressed. I also liked his indirect ways of encouraging and supporting them. Byakuya has to be my favorite because he maxes out all categories for me. Great character design, likable personality, as well as clear character development, and a cool kit leading to cool fights. And he's also got good comedic relief. I really enjoy Byakuya's character through and through, and it's for that reason why he is my favorite captain within Nico Tai 13. Anyway, that concludes the list. I hope you guys enjoyed, because I enjoyed making it. If you're interested in seeing more anime or Bleach content coming from me, please consider liking and subscribing. Going forward, I definitely intend to put out a lot more of that. some character analysis, some reviews and stuff like that. I think it could be pretty fun. So if you're interested, keep that in mind. I think next time I put out like a favorite anime rap/song list. That could be fun. Anime raps and songs are just how they sound. They're just songs and raps about anime characters, concepts, and anime in general. If you're into anime and haven't listened to anime raps and songs, I definitely encourage you to do so. I'm sure it sounds cringy for those of you who have not listened, but definitely give it a try. Search up your favorite character, and odds are there's definitely an anime rap about them somewhere. It's honestly inspired me to lot to well, it's honestly inspired me to watch a lot of anime in general. So I guess that's about it. Yeah, I am Sentiment, and I guess that's my cue.